Hey everyone, welcome back to Inside the Cage, where we bring you the latest and exciting updates of UFC. First, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Whittaker's shocking UFC 294 prediction. Have you caught wind of what Robert Whittaker's been dishing out about the Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev showdown at UFC 294? It's all set to rock the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi this Saturday, October 21st. Now, the former UFC middleweight champ Whittaker recently spilled the beans on the M-Arcade podcast. He's weighing in on this fight, sharing his thoughts on how it's all gonna go down. He says, "Stylistically, I think this is a hard fight for Usman. If we're going off the Usman that fought Leon Edwards, he had a hard time trying to get into that shooting range and trying to dirty up the fight, get it close, doggish against the fence." Continuing, Whittaker shared some interesting insights about the upcoming fight. He thinks that Chimaev will make good use of his kicking game because he's a tall and robust fighter. Plus, Chimaev's wrestling skills could potentially give him an edge against Usman, even more so than Leon Edwards had. Whittaker is pretty optimistic that Chimaev might put on a strong performance, and he believes all the elements are in place for Chimaev to establish himself in the UFC. Chimaev's going to utilize those kicks. He's a big dude, a very tall guy, and he has the wrestling to be able to counter Usman better than Leon does. If anything, we might see a really good showing from Chimaev. All of the pieces are there for Chimaev to staple his name. So Whittaker's got some interesting insights into this matchup. It's got fight fans buzzing with anticipation. It's a clash worth watching for sure. Dana White's defense stuns the MMA community. Well, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for Paulo Costa lately. He'd been out of the octagon since August last year and had a bout with Robert Whittaker scheduled for February. But contract disputes with the UFC nixed that fight. Then finally he got the matchup against Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 294. But just weeks before the big showdown, he had to bow out due to elbow surgery to treat an infection. Now here's the interesting part. Dana White, the UFC CEO, actually came to Costa's defense, even though it was the third consecutive time he'd pulled out of a fight. White felt that Costa's reason this time around was reasonable and had his back. Dana White said at the UFC 294 press conference,
"Listen, I can say this. I know this isn't a popular answer for him right now, but listen, Paulo Costa could be a pain in the ass, no doubt about it, but he's seriously injured."
So, after Dana White defended Paulo Costa's withdrawal, while Khamzat Chimaev jumped into the ring with his take, suggesting that Costa might be faking it and just running away scared. But Dana White is sticking to his guns and maintaining that Costa's injury was for real.
He's seriously injured and needs to get his elbow taken care of. He had a
You're
nasty
hiding him out in
staph
different
infection.
hotels from me.
It's legit. Listen, if it wasn't legit, I'd be the first one to say it. Absolutely legit that that guy is seriously injured and needed to do what he needed to do. I know that is not a popular answer for Khamzat, but it's the truth.
However, it seems like there's a bit of back-and-forth drama going on between these fighters and the UFC boss. So let's see what happens next. Max Holloway's exclusive fight analysis. Guess who's back with another edition of Blessed Breakdowns? Former UFC featherweight champ Max Holloway is here to give us the lowdown on UFC 294, happening on the 11th hour for his fans in the United States, and live from Abu Dhabi. Now, the first bout between Makhachev and Volkanovski was a nail-biter. Many fans and media types thought that Volkanovski had done enough to snatch the victory at UFC 284 and become a two-division champ. But surprise! Makhachev, who had just beaten Charles Oliveira 4 months earlier to claim the title, came through with his first title defense. Max Holloway's been waiting around the #1 contender spot for the past 4 years, ever since he lost his title to Volkanovski at UFC 245. They've thrown down twice since then, and Volkanovski's got the upper hand with a 3-0 lead. But here's the twist. Holloway isn't throwing in the towel. He's saying it's wrong to count out Volkanovski's chances. He added,
"I think that Alex shows up from the 5th round, from the last one, and it's gonna be a tough fight. A lot of people are counting Alex out, which is just ridiculous. You know, I don't think Alex would put himself in a position to take a fight like this, especially with all the risk of him not being able to maybe get a third shot at Islam if it does go bad, you know, for a title shot, and his 55 hopes is whatever.
And here's an interesting tidbit from Holloway. He's suggesting that if Volkanovski manages to come out on top, fans will brush off the whole short notice fight thing in a hurry. Sounds like Holloway's got some respect for his rival's potential, even in challenging circumstances.
When you look in the record books, nobody's gonna be like, oh, he took this on 10 days notice, you know?
Now, let's not forget that Holloway's been making some waves himself. He had a victory over the Korean Zombie at UFC Singapore back in August, making it 2-0 for him in 2023. He's still in the mix, keeping his sights on another title shot. Guys, if you're enjoying the video, we'd love your support. Just hit that subscribe button to motivate us to bring you more exciting content. Fury just admitted about his wrestling career. Here, Tyson Fury's got some plans on his plate. He's not just talking about sticking around the boxing ring for a good while, but he's also dropping the bomb that he's done with WWE appearances, so it sounds like we won't be seeing him in the squared circle of professional wrestling anytime soon. I'm looking to sign another 10-fight deal after this, so I don't know. I'm going to put my feelers out there and see who I can get the best deal off for another 10 fights, said Fury, speaking to ESPN. Undoubtedly, Tyson Fury's got a lot on his plate. Back in 2019, he inked a multi-fight deal with Top Rank, and his next big showdown is against none other than former UFC heavyweight champ Francis Ngannou, set for October 28th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But hold on, my friend. Fury's got his sights set on the undisputed heavyweight championship, and he's locked in for a face-off with Oleksandr Usyk after the Ngannou fight. That's some serious boxing action coming our way. What else is there? I retire, plenty of money, plenty of achievement, whatever, 35 years old. What am I going to do? This makes me effing happy, fighting, said Fury. In simple words, Tyson Fury is making some careful career choices. His history of injuries and the need to avoid making those issues worse have played a big role in his decision to stick to boxing and steer clear of the wrestling ring. You know, some people were curious if Fury might venture deeper into the WWE world, especially after his high-profile match against Braun Strowman in 2019. But, as they say never. Fury, also known as the Gypsy King, has pretty much put it out there that a future in professional wrestling isn't on the horizon for him. What do you think about his choice to focus on boxing and leave the WWE behind? UFC 294 weigh-in updates. This weekend's UFC 294 card in Abu Dhabi is throwing fans a curveball, but in a surprising twist, it might be better than what was originally expected. Originally, the fight fans were all geared up for Islam Makhachev defending his lightweight title in a rematch with Charles Oliveira. Meanwhile, Khamzat Chimaev was set for a middleweight showdown with Paulo Costa. But then, boom! And guess who stepped in as replacements? Alexander Volkanovski and Kamaru Usman. Makhachev versus Oliveira too had its appeal, no doubt, but Makhachev versus Volkanovski is looking like a closer fight, and we're getting a sequel that's a breath of fresh air. No disrespect to Du Bronx, who deserves a title shot when he's back in action. And as for Chimaev versus Usman, well, that fight's been on the wish list for over a year, but now we're seeing it at middleweight. Weigh-ins for UFC 294 are set for 1 a.m. ET on Friday, October 20th, 2023, at the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi. But there were a couple of eyebrow-raising moments at the official weigh-ins. Victoria Dudakova hit the scale at 117 pounds, and despite some creative efforts, she still came in at 116.6 pounds, slightly over the strawweight non-title limit. Mike Breeden, on the other hand, came in 3.5 pounds over the lightweight limit. On the main card for UFC 294, there are some intriguing matchups. First up, we've got the lightweight title fight with Islam Makhachev, C, weighing in at 155 pounds, and Alexander Volkanovski at 154.5. Following that, there's a middleweight showdown featuring Kamaru Usman at 184.5 and Khamzat Chimaev at 185.5. In the light heavyweight battle, Magomed Ankalaev tips the scales at 206 pounds, and Johnny Walker comes in at 205. It's sure to be a thrilling night for UFC fans, especially with these last-minute changes. All right, guys, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one. Until then, goodbye.